Hey everyone, welcome to Tony for Looking Good Tonight. I mean Tony for you. Within the many layers of hell exist a seemingly infinite amount of demons ready to bathe the world in endless darkness and sin. Among the countless hosts of spiritual beings, there exists a few that stand above the rest, those who hold the title of Demon Prince. These profane members of the ruling class represent the 7 deadly sins and take on every aspect of humanity we'd rather ignore. The subject of today is Asmodeus, the archdemon ruling over the deadly sin of lust. A sin we are all guilty of in some regard, and perhaps the one sin that can lead to the most loathsome of actions a person can commit. Betrayal of trust, dehumanization, and disrespect for your peers are just a few of the lesser repercussions of this sin. True lust is perhaps the most unforgivable and base sin, one that brings us back to our most primitive mindset, with all the negatives that come with it. Asmodeus, being this sin's patron, has a lot to dive into, from his biblical appearances to his more occult interpretations. So, without any further ado, let's talk about the Prince of Lust. This video was made possible by the great people over at my Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Also, I have a Discord, so if you want to come chat with me and other wannabe theologists, come join and hang out. To understand Asmodeus, we must first understand his domain, lust. Let's try not to get demonetized instantly with this explanation. Lust as a sin is not necessarily tied to sexuality, though it often is synonymous with lecherous thoughts. It's an intense desire for something, but this desire is unique due to its iron grip on one's mind. To desire something in and of itself is obviously not a sin, as each person is unique in what they value and hope to achieve. When one desires to accomplish, acquire, or create something, it can be a beautiful process of persistence and self-improvement. In truth, that is what we would call passion. If you wish to create wonderful dishes for people to enjoy, achieve a higher status at work, or get to know that special someone a little bit better, it can be a beautiful thing. When these desires overtake us and it becomes impossible to think or strive for anything else though, it can quickly devolve into the sin of lust. A lust for power can make it much easier to ignore the people you hurt along the way. A lust to hone your craft, whatever it may be, can completely isolate you from the outside world and skew your perception of reality. And obviously, a lust for another person, if taken too far, can lead to at least the dehumanization of the other being, reducing them to simply a piece of meat. Or at worst, can lead to some of the most horrible crimes a person can commit. The difference between passion and lust is important to draw, but oftentimes it gets hard to understand them, and in truth, one can sway between the two depending on the day. Lust is often a temporary mindset, thankfully, as once your lust is fulfilled, you oftentimes revert back to normal, but then you are left with the realization you may have made a complete fool of yourself. How many of us wanted something so badly, but when we get it, it's just alright. And commonly, we don't really like it as much as we thought we would. Not to get too crass, but the term post-nut clarity comes to mind, though I won't go too much deeper into that. I'm trying to be for all ages here. But let's bring it back to reality for a moment, since for the sake of definition, it's easy to go to the extremes. The average person doesn't lust for immense power or revert to a base, single-minded state when they see a piece of food after all. Though some people still get reduced to gibbering monkeys when they see someone attractive. The sad truth is that lust is definitely a sin we have all been guilty of on more than a few occasions in our lives. Lust is a state of compromised decision-making due to an intense desire for something immoral. With lust being one of the most common sins a person can commit, it's widely considered to be the least serious of the capital sins. But the range in which one can feel lust varies to such a degree that the punishment can be feeling slightly disappointed in yourself or jail time. While there is no objective morality, you would be hard-pressed to find many people that thought someone who is willing to acquire something at any and all cost to be a healthy way of conducting yourself. While lust can be the mindset attached to other sins, such as gluttony for the lust of food and greed for the lust of wealth, the most obvious and pure example of lust is that of the sexual variety. It comes with the territory of being human, as an element of sexual attraction is absolutely necessary for a relationship to start and flourish. Despite how much we all want to say we only care about personality, a first impression can mean a lot, and how you choose to express yourself physically is a point of pride for many people. The problem comes when the desire for someone starts and stops at just that, the purely physical. Many religions from across the world have specific passages warning against and giving guidance to avoid such base and carnal feelings. Perhaps most famously in the Gospel of Matthew in the Bible, where it states, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell." Quite an intense passage, but one that drives home the importance of keeping your thoughts moral and clean. Allowing a thought to seep into your mind at first might be troubling, but you must understand it's immoral and throw it away. When a thought is so intrusive that it starts to cloud your judgment and betray the trust of others, even if it's just in your head, it's your duty to remove the very roots of the idea itself. Divorce yourself from the origin of the sin, even if it means pain and discomfort. Now, you obviously shouldn't gouge out your eye or cut off your hand literally, but correcting a sin is never easy and it may involve some sacrifice. Thoughts have power, and thinking about something enough can normalize it to you. Let's say you lust after another person's wife. If you think about it enough, you may find yourself in a situation where you can act on those thoughts, and what will wait for you may not be a literal hell, but the destruction of something that was once beautiful, and it will all be your fault. In a very similar fashion, Buddhism and many other Eastern religions have lust in a core position of their philosophy. Lust to the Buddhist can be understood as the attachment and passionate desire for that which exists in the world. More specifically, it's anything that provides us form, sensation, perception, mentality, and consciousness. Basically, anything you can see, touch, or eat. Thus, we can understand the meaning of the four noble truths in Buddhism. Those being: 1. Life involves suffering. 2. Suffering is caused by desire. 3. There is a way to eliminate the suffering inherent in life. And 4. The elimination of desire will therefore eliminate the suffering of life. Sounds simple, right? But if it was, we'd all be Buddhas. And many people go through their entire lives without ever truly grasping even the first truth. With the knowledge of desire being specifically tied to that which is in the corporeal world, we can understand that this lust is the desire for worldly things. Anything of this earth is temporary and therefore of no true use to oneself. On the other hand, that which we cannot see is what is truly important. Knowledge and understanding, love and respect, and providing for a better tomorrow are that which we must value above all else. That which will provide us good karma, and that which will eliminate suffering. A universal principle that holds true, regardless of religion or upbringing, is to value what is beyond the physical, so that you may be happy for a lifetime, rather than a moment. Now on to the lecherous prince himself, Asmodeus. His appearances are mostly relegated to non-canonical books of the Bible and other Abrahamic texts. One such book, and the text that will shed some light on Asmodeus, is the Book of Tobit. The book centers around a righteous man named Tobit and his son Tobias. Tobit one day had his face a little too close to the windowsill when a bird decided to poop on his eyes, permanently blinding him. Yes, I'm serious. This unfortunate event made Tobit rely on his son to run most of his errands for him. Sometime later, Tobit asked his son Tobias to go to the city of Medea to retrieve some money he previously lent out to a man living there. The city was quite far off, and Tobit was at first reluctant to entrust his son with the task, but Tobias assured his father he would get a righteous man to lead him on the way. Tobias did end up finding a man perfectly suited to guide him on his journey, a man named Azariah. The book then switches perspectives to a woman named Sarah, whose life has been completely taken over by our very own demon, Asmodeus. This woman from a very wealthy family has every single potential suitor perish on the night of their wedding, leading to the public believing her to be a twisted mass murderer. In truth, the culprit for these killings is the demon Asmodeus, who preys on the lust the suitors feel leading up to the wedding night. Then, when they are about to consummate the marriage, he tightly grabs hold of their soul, fully given over to lust and sin, resulting in their immediate death. Returning back to the traveling duo, Azariah does many miraculous things, like plucking out massive fish from rivers with little effort, explaining how their innards can be used to heal many ailments. Tobias doesn't fully understand, but he keeps the innards of the fish regardless. Eventually, they make their way to the city of Medea, which also happens to be where Sarah is located, where they meet. Azariah seemingly randomly turns to Tobias and tells him to marry the woman. Now Tobias at this point knows all about the fate of the woman's suitors, but against his better judgment, decides to put his faith in Azariah. Tobias gets the blessing of Sarah's father, and Azariah tells him for 3 days to pray with Sarah, hand in hand, then burn the innards of the fish they ate of on their journey. This ritual kept the great demon lord Asmodeus at bay. On the 3rd day, they would consummate the marriage, and on the 4th day, they would be blessed with a child. This process is to be done with no lust in your heart, but simply the love of children. The young couple does as Azariah commands, and after the ritual is over, Sarah's family is astounded at the man's survival. They fully incorporate Tobias into their family and provide for him a life of luxury he would have never known. Tobias could not forget about his father, however, and after admittedly way too long of a time for a simple errand, Tobias finally went home with Azariah and is instructed once again on what to do. Tobias, as instructed by Azariah, smears the remaining fish guts on Tobit's eyes and kisses him, where he is almost instantly granted his sight back. It's then that Azariah reveals himself to be the Archangel Raphael, sent directly from God to heal Tobit and rid Sarah of her demonic possession. Not much is revealed about Asmodeus directly from this story, other than his opportunistic ways of leading men to their deaths at the height of their lust, and his apparent strength due to the only thing even able to keep him at bay being one of the 4 main archangels. Another more spicy incarnation of Asmodeus is within the story of King Solomon, here called Ashmedai. This king became infamous for summoning and utilizing demons in the construction of the Israelite kingdom during the First Temple period. With these demons, he became nigh on invulnerable to harm, granted knowledge of all worldly things, and unparalleled wealth and power. During his reign, Solomon one day decided to visit a demon he had recently imprisoned by the name of Ashmedai. This demon granted Solomon the knowledge of the perfect building materials for the kingdom, but the ruler was curious as to the actual power of the entity. Ashmedai told Solomon that if he's really interested in seeing his power, then he would have to take off his protective signet ring and unbind him. Solomon foolishly obliged the demon's request, upon which the great wings of the beast blew him 400 miles away from his kingdom. This didn't kill the good king, as he still had the protection of countless other demons, but in his absence, Ashmedai assumed Solomon's form and played king for as long as he could before the real one got back. The demon got up to a lot of general evil, but ultimately he was most interested in Solomon's many wives. Ashmedai fornicated with each of them nightly, but even this was not enough to sate the great demon of lust's appetite, and he eventually forced himself upon Solomon's own mother, Bathsheba. The demon's hatred for Solomon knew no bounds after his imprisonment. After the true king made his way back to the land, he could not believe his eyes at the destruction the demon caused and the way he treated his loved ones while tricking them into believing he had turned into a monster. Ashmedai dropped his guise when he saw Solomon, and he knew his fun had come to an end. But before he left, he foretold of the great kingdom's downfall, and also presumably saying, "I banged your mom," which may have been the first time that insult was ever used. Despite the demon fleeing from Solomon, it was said that the king lived the rest of his days in fear and burning hatred for what Ashmedai did to him and his family, sleeping with a permanent guard for fear of his return in the dead of night. Asmodeus's depictions can be traced back to the Dictionnaire Infernal, or the Infernal Dictionary by Jacques-Collin de Plancy, a 19th century grimoire of demons, and the Lesser Key of Solomon, a chronicle of all 72 demons summoned and utilized by King Solomon during his reign. The Infernal Dictionary describes him as a being with the breast of a man, a cock leg, serpent tail, and 3 heads, one of a man spitting fire, one of a sheep, and one of a bull, riding a lion with dragon wings and neck. Each of these creatures are related to lust or sin in many cultures in some way. In the Lesser Key of Solomon, he is described in a similarly strange way, describing him as strong, powerful, and with 3 heads, the first like a bull, the second like a man, and the third like a ram or goat. the tail of a serpent, and from his mouth issue flames of fire. Even in this depiction, he is said to sit upon an infernal dragon, holding a lance and banner, which represents his status as a demon prince of many legions in hell. Asmodeus is perhaps the most terrifying demon, as his hold on humans reduces them to mere animals ready to enact the worst evils on each other, all while he laughs and drinks up the sin. Remember to keep your mind clear and clean, or you may be reduced to a thoughtless monster no different from a demon. In Shin Megami Tensei, Asmodeus is depicted in a very wide range, some accurate and some less so. First appearing in Megami Tensei 2 as a dragon-like being with 3 heads, one of a bull, one of a human, and one of a ram, much like his occult interpretations. Then, the demon takes a very long hiatus from the series, returning in Shin Megami Tensei 4 as a blood-red, almost reptilian creature made of bones, studded with countless piercings holding a ring of keys. Despite his less than accurate design, he appears in the game as a guardian of the birdcage imprisoning the 4 archangels, and during the fight with Flynn, proclaims he will kill the man and take his companion Isabeau as his wife. Creepy. His role in the story harkens back to his rivalry with the archangels, specifically Raphael, and his appearance in a prison could be a reference to his imprisonment and subsequent escape from the prison of Solomon all those years ago. The Demon of Lust appears again as the true form of Kamoshida's shadow during the fight with him in Persona 5. This fits perfectly, as the former Olympian turned high school coach Kamoshida is known to abuse the male students and horrifically harass and even assault the female ones. The boss is shown to indulge in every sinful act at once, wearing a crown and wielding a leather whip designed to induce as much pain as possible. His other hands have a knife, fork, and wine glass to consume the bodies of his female students, with the males gagged and chained to his golden throne. Throughout the series, despite not having many appearances, he always ends up being one of the most powerful and memorable designs. Well, that covers the Demon Prince of Lust, Asmodeus. Let me know what you think of the Great Tempter in the comments down below, and while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. This marks the final Demon Prince covered on the channel, so check out the previous ones if you're interested in the others, and there are plenty more demons I plan to cover. This marks the final Demon Prince to be covered on the channel, so check out the other ones if you're interested. But there's plenty more demons I plan to cover in the future, so stay tuned. Special thanks to Andre Vinicius da Silva Valens, Anton, Kalos, Goose Kebab, Jeter Michelle, Just a Middleman, Lil Reb, Matt M, Patty123, Stuart Ash, The Digital Dutchman, The Toaster Messiah, Video Gamer 75, and many more for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Thanks for watching this Prince of Hell breakdown, and I'll see you in the next Tony for You. Have a good one.